right, welcome back everyone to the County Council session. Item number 4 on our agenda today is a public hearing on a resolution to approve supplemental appropriation number 25-41 to the FY25 operating budget, Montgomery County Government Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, COVID-19 Federal Emergency Management Agency, public assistance contractor support in the amount of $374,156. The source of the funds are general funds, undesignated reserves. A joint government operations fiscal policy and a public safety committee work session will be scheduled at a later date. Those wishing to submit material for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business on February 13th, 2025. There are no registered speakers for this hearing. This public hearing is now closed. Next, the council will sit as the district council, and the first item for the district council's consideration is action on zoning text amendment 24-03, overlay zones, Great Seneca Life Sciences overlay. The Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee recommends approval with amendments. Chair Friedson, would you like to share any of the committee's comments or recommendations?
Yes, thank you so much, Madam President, and really appreciate it. We have members of the planning staff and the planning board chair, as well as Ms. Nadeau joining us here. I want to thank colleagues on the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee for their thoughtful work on this as well. This ZTA 2403 establishes a new Great Seneca Life Sciences overlay zone. As you all recall, the council adopted the Great Seneca Plan on July 30th. Earlier this council term. As part of the plan, the planning board recommended establishing a Great Seneca Life Sciences overlay zone to standardize land uses and review standards across the overlay zone to incentivize housing production, create opportunities to provide additional building height and density, promote people-centric urban design, and establish new methodology for providing public benefits and optional method of development projects. A public hearing was held on July 16th. We had a Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee meeting last week. We worked through a handful of amendments. I'll turn to Ms. Nadeau in a moment to walk us through those, and we'll just reiterate two important points. One, we have the public benefits incentives as a separate project, but is somewhat related to this item as we have been navigating through, and the council was briefed on previously, which is part of this conversation as well. And I'll just note how important our Great Seneca Sciences corridor is to the county as really the hub of our life sciences corridor and our global strength in biohealth, and how this plan is really centered around ensuring that that is a livable, walkable, accessible community, that it is updated to meet the changing needs and dynamics of our community in an urbanizing county. And very much this overlay zone was moving forward in essentially implementing the directives that the council had put forward in the plan that we approved last July. So with that, let me turn to Ms. Nadeau to briefly walk us through the amendments that the committee went through, and then turn it back to you, Madam President.
Thank you. So the amendments start on page 5 of the staff report. The first one concerns non-conforming parking lots. This is an amendment that the planning board, as well as testimony from Guardian and Adventist Hospital, had supported. The amendment here is to add the word new before surface vehicle parking. In this overlay zone, the concern was that existing surface parking lots would become non-conforming. Council staff does have an update here, so pretty soon after the work session, I heard from an attorney from who represents Johns Hopkins University, who asked whether new meant already on the ground or has a site plan approval already. So a recommended amendment to the committee's amendment here, at the bottom of page 5 in the box, is it would say, unless prior to the effective date of the ZTA, the parking lot existed or was included in an approved site plan, because often during site plan they look at the parking. And I believe planning had agreed with this amendment.
Great. Does the chair of PHP want to weigh in on that amendment?
So We could, I don't need to weigh in. We can turn it over to planning if they want to share their views, or we can take it up as a committee.
Carrie Sanders, for the record, we are fine with this change.
Great. Would you like to move the amendment?
I'll move it.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez, second. I see people in the queue, but I think that was for before. Does anybody have any questions about this amendment? No? All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous.
So the next amendment is about warehouse and storage uses. So biohealth is not technically a term used in the zoning ordinance. We usually call it medical, scientific manufacturing, and production. This overlay zone was going to prohibit storage facilities, and our biohealth companies had asked for clarification here that the incidental storage that's usually allowed with this use would still be permitted. So the amendment would say storage facility excluding incidental storage for medical, scientific, manufacturing, and production use.
Right. Does planning have any comments on that one? No? The PHP chair, any? All right. Would someone like to move that amendment?
Oh, that one
sorry.
the committee had.
Oh, that was,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
So the next committee recommended amendment was about the FAR for optional method. So as introduced, developments had to use all of their gross floor area before getting additional density. As you may know, with FAR, you have a commercial and a residential. So the intent here was that you can use either all the commercial or all the residential to get that additional density. And the PHP committee agreed with that amendment as well, which is at the top of page 7. And lastly, there's 2 more. The next amendment from the committee was regarding technical amendments. ZTA 2404 was introduced after this one, but passed before, which changed the numbering in large sections of the code. So you will see in the draft included here that some of that renumbering has been basically reverted back. So the committee agreed with those technical amendments as well. And lastly, I believe this is the amendment that will have some more discussion today. This was a BLT exemption for hospitals. It was 2-1 at committee. So I'm going to jump backwards a little bit because I know I've received a lot of questions about this one. So first, as a reminder, a BLT restricts non-agricultural uses on farmland, and under optional method, if you want that incentive density, you purchase those BLTs. There's a great OLO report from last year that summarizes TDRs and BLTs for you. So the committee recommended 2-1 to not carry over provision that exempted hospitals from providing BLTs. So the way that this works is the ZTA is introduced required all optional method projects in the overlay to purchase BLTs at 7.5% of the incentive density floor area. Usually in the LSC zone, it's 50%, so this is a reduction. However, Adventist Hospital reached out because hospitals were previously exempted. So the hospital would actually be going from 0 to 7, not from 50 to 7. The committee discussed this for a while and decided to keep the exemption out, meaning not amend the ZTA. Some of the discussion was around, 1, the incentive zoning update. The incentive zoning update has 3 LSC zone properties that are not actually in this overlay, and one of them is actually the Adventist Hospital at White Oak. And that update is going to recommend, most likely, we're still working on the draft, to pull those LSC properties out of optional method so they will not have to provide those BLTs. So what's going to happen, presumably, tentatively, at PHP, is that incentive zoning update will be introduced and the committee and council will work through that. After the incentive zoning update is approved, there will be another ZTA to clean up the overlay zones that talk about incentive zoning. So that was why the committee had discussed that if you don't change it today, there is sort of this opportunity to revisit it, but that might be down the line because it's 2 ZTAs away, and what you'll see from the rest of the agenda will be a busy PHP year. So that was the committee recommendation, was 2-1 with Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez and Councilmember Friedson saying to not put in the amendment that would exempt the hospital, and Councilmember Jawando recommending to keep that amendment in. And planning had argued to also not put that exemption back in. So that was where all the positions fell during work session.
Great. Councilmember Cass, did you want to speak to this piece, or then you're up next?
Thank you very much, Madam President. And I thank the committee for all their hard work, and I agree with most of what they have come up with. However, on this last one for the building lot termination that Adventist Hospital has requested, it's my understanding that in White Oak that they would have that exemption, but in the Shady Grove area, they would not, based on what the suggestion is. And to me, there needs to be consistency across. If you know, the chair mentioned, or of PHP mentioned the standardized land use, and that's the statement that's in there, the standardized land use for the overlay zone. Well, then let's have it standardized. Let's have it to be the same. The hospitals are currently exempt. Why would that be changed now? Secondly, it applies only to the Great Seneca Science area, and thus Adventist Hospital in Shady Grove would be the only one that is affected by this. It's not consistent with how the hospitals and the life science centers are currently treated, and under the upcoming incentive zoning update, there's a recommendation for LSC properties not to include Great Seneca, but to the other areas as well. Adventist, Shady Grove Adventist, is one of the first property owners in this area, and it actually anchored, let's underline the word anchored, the life sciences community there. And Adventist, candidly, if we don't do this, and just recently, Councilmember Balcom and I were at a Gaithersburg Economic Development breakfast, and Jake Day, the Secretary of Housing and Community Development, was there. Talked about, obviously, about the various housing across the state of Maryland, and mentioned, and I asked Councilmember Balcom this morning, I couldn't remember what ages he said, but I believe he said that the ages of 17 to 34 are the ages that we are losing population, that they're going somewhere else because of this housing. This housing would be something that might, doesn't say that it will be, but it should, might be something that somebody could live right there and work in that area. I don't also, and I know my good friends from planning never want to hear this, but I will consistently say it, if the county decided that this is not something that they should do, if I were Adventist Hospital, I'd go talk to my friends in Gaithersburg and Annex. I understand that you wouldn't like it, and I understand that you could hold it up for 5 years, but as I've mentioned many, many times to anybody that ever considered that, at the end of 5 years, if you stay in the county, you get what you got. At the end of 5 years, if you go into the municipality, you have an annexation agreement, and then you get what you want. So I believe that this should be changed. I understand that there's another bite at the apple. I don't know why they would need the other bite. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you. Yeah, just wanted to explain my view at the committee, and also underscore that it was council staff's suggestion that they concur with my view that this exemption be maintained. And I don't think that, for the reasons that were stated, we should change it at this time. Add on to that, we know our hospitals are going through significant challenges already. And if they're already exempt, and we're going to talk about this in the incentive zoning update, which we will, let's deal with it all there and make a decision. But I don't think it should create this incongruity between the hospitals. So I agree that we should reinstate it. And I don't know if the district council member was making a motion or not, but
I certainly will. I move.
okay, and I'd be happy to second it.
So just to be clear, the motion that we have before us, the amendment is to carry over the exemption.
Correct.
That is correct.
Yeah. Great. Councilmember Ming.
Thanks. I won't restate everything that's being said, but I'll just associate myself with the comments of the district council member. I think that's eminently reasonable. Thank you.
Councilmember Friedson.
Yeah, thank you. It's an important conversation. We had a really long discussion about this. I'll say there's a split decision. I broke the tie on it. I think there's an argument that could go on either of this of how we take this up. Frankly, I do think we should turn to planning staff and the planning board chair, if desired, to explain because it's not an apples to apples comparison because there is a recommendation of reducing, what this looks like. So I just why don't we turn to planning and you can explain the rationale because I do think it's relevant to the conversation. I can provide a little bit of additional context to what the conversation was, then we can take this up as a body unless there are other questions or comments. But this is an important conversation. It was one of the largest and most robust conversations that we had at the committee.
Great. I'll turn it over to planning.
Thank you, Carrie Sanders, for the record. So I hear the feedback that we're receiving from the different council members. From our perspective, when we did the master planning exercise, we hired a consultant to kind of look at what are a menu of public benefits that these different properties could provide when they implement changes to their properties. And the BLT program was one of them. We did some research as well with this consultant to kind of look at the financial feasibility of a project and whether that project would pencil out if they did provide this public benefit. And the answer to that is yes, they would. So we really struck that 7.5% as what we felt was a reasonable amount. In the optional method process, it's actually 50%. So the 7.5% is much lower than it would be through the optional method process. So I think that being said, we also understand that hospitals are under a lot of constraints these days. And we understand too that there might be a policy direction that the council wants to take on this. So from our perspective, we're just looking at how can we, with each project that comes to the county, just really get these exceptional public benefits for the community. But if there are other areas that the council feels that are more important to focus on with the public benefits, I think we're open to that exploration.
So just to clarify, there is if it's a 50% to 7.5%, that's already what is being discussed here and what planning is recommending. The question is whether there should be exemption at 0%, which is a reasonable question to ask. There also is an implication to the BLT program when we're having another conversation. There's two parallel conversations that are happening in addition to this. There's the BLT TDR conversation and the question of those as public benefits and the very serious implications that exemptions have to that program, which is, frankly, in need of revision as a result of exemptions, and the incentive zoning update and public benefits updates that the council was previously briefed on that will be taking up in short order that the committee has begun its work on. So there is a question here on that. It's definitely a legitimate question to have. It's whether going from 50% to 7.5% for the time being is adequate, or whether providing the exemption in total, which has other ramifications, and then potentially addressing the exemptions at a later date. That's really the kind of the decision before us.
Thank you, Councilmember Friedson. I'll turn it to Councilmember Glass.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the discussion and just want to drill down on I think what Councilmember Friedson was talking about and ask planning staff. So it sounds like this is the first instance of the direction the planning department would like to take countywide, because I'm trying to reconcile the two different Adventist properties and the apparent inequity of land use options there.
Thank you. Maren Hill for the record. So the direction that planning is going, and as you mentioned, it's a little confusing because we are doing this CTA, which is specific to the LSC, and then the incentive zoning update, which will cover the CR zones. As the incentive zoning update is written, it would remove these exemptions as well. Looking at the different properties in the LSC, It's not so much that we would be keeping exemptions for some and exempting others, but rather the 3 other properties that are currently zoned LSC do have some restrictions or have been built out to the point where they would not reach an optional method threshold, which is 0.5 FAR. In the case for Adventist, in the Great Seneca Life Sciences Overlay Zone, they actually have a FAR of 2 and a potential to reach an FAR of 3 through this incentive zoning and public benefits provision. So looking at the amount of density and the possibility for future construction, it really isn't the same as looking at some of these other LSC zoned properties.
Thank you. And so that's why Councilmember Katz noted that there is a second bite of the apple. And so just to be very specific, if we as a council support the motion that's on the table, that could be changed when the next CTA or the benefits comes up, correct?
Correct.
I think we should just wait for a holistic approach rather than doing a bite-sized approach. So I'll support the motion.
Okay, I have Councilmember Balcom.
Thank you. And it's a pay me now, pay me later kind of situation here in terms of when the decision is made. But I do want to just talk about BLTs for a second, because I think that is, I don't want it to get lost in the discussion. And Councilmember Friedson, who was the prior district rep for much of the Ag Reserve, the BLT process, the BLT TDR system is inadequately funded at this point in time, which is the preservation of the Ag Reserve. And it cannot be overstated that the future of the Ag Reserve really does rest on the BLT TDR sustainability of that system. So I think that we do need a comprehensive strategy. It's one of the things we're looking at with the incentive zoning update, but we also need a much broader discussion about the future of TDR and BLT. Personally, I'd like to see a countywide system where no one is exempt from the BLT, but I just wanted to bring that into the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Katz.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to clear up that we're not going from 50% to 7.5%. We're going from 0 to 7.5%. It's not right now. So I appreciate the thought, but that to me is very different than what we're suggesting. I just believe that, you've heard me on the topic. I just believe there should be consistency. Thank you.
Councilmember Gemando.
Yeah, just also appreciate that. I was going to make that point, but the other point is, so you are recommending planning that the other LSC zone properties become only standard method development. So how does that hospital compare to other hospitals which are LSC or residential zones? And how will that be a part of the discussion or not?
Thank you for that question. My name is Jessica McVeary. I'm the planning supervisor with Montgomery Planning. So we did look at, in preparation for today, the hospitals and their existing zoning. Through the incentive zoning update as it's currently proposed, it would propose to remove LSC zones that are not in the Great Seneca Life Sciences area from the optional method of development, because there are only 3 other properties outside of the
so those would be standard method development.
Those would be standard
where there's
method.
No public benefit required.
That's right. There are other properties that are where hospitals are located that are in residential zones, so those would also not be subject to the optional method of development.
Right. So again, the inequity would exist because there's no public benefit required for those hospitals that are in standard method development.
That's
including
correct.
BLTs.
I would note, however, that as we discussed at the committee, the staff's approach for this was really to create equality across the Life Sciences Center in the
Right.
Great Seneca Plan area, which you all are very familiar with. And many of those businesses are providing life-saving treatments today. And so we're really trying to think about this in a holistic way that would create equality across the Life Sciences Center, acknowledging that it may create inconsistencies for specific uses in the county.
Such as hospitals, because it's like you're hearing a concern around equality amongst hospitals. But okay, but thank you.
Councilmember Friedson?
Yeah, I'll just no the just to clarify, what I was noting before is the 0 to 50% was the change from exemption to what it was. That's what the exemption was previously providing. The 7.5% is the recommendation that planning is putting forward, and the 7.5% and what the overlay zone here is recommending from planning was what was assumed in the plan that we approved and put forward. And that is part of this conversation. Having said that, as was noted, we either move forward with the direction of what was recommended in the plan that we already approved, which this is essentially an implementing document. That was the approach that planning was trying to move forward. Or we decide that we're going to take this up in other avenues through the BLT TDR conversations and the parallel conversation with the incentive zoning. I think both are reasonable approaches. I would, suggest that, we support that. I'd be happy to support it as somebody who, was kind of the deciding vote on the committee. I would just note that we need to make sure that we are coming back to the BLT conversation as part of the TDR BLT discussions that we are having, because this is going to be an important conversation, and that this is going to be a topic that we have on the incentive zoning update. And I just wanted to note that and flag that the committee will take it up at that time. But I'm happy to move forward with this, at least for a temporary period of time until we take up the broader questions.
Okay, I think we're moving in a direction, but I'm going to turn it to Councilmember Natalie Fanning Gonzalez.
Very quickly, I agree with what Chair Friedson said on this. Look forward to having this conversation once again pretty soon. With that, I'm going to support the District Council Member Katz on this motion.
Okay, Councilmember Mink?
Looks like we're all going to the same place. Looking forward to having more time to discuss this, because just noting that I appreciate the efforts also of planning here in terms of the equity, but also noting that, there's big differences between a drug company and a hospital. And so having time to really think about what that means in terms of what we want to do for policy, I think is going to be important also. Thanks.
Great. So we have an amendment on the table to carry over the exemption for hospitals. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that looks like 11. That is a consensus. So, Ms. Nadeau, do you have any other updates for us or amendments for us to consider?
No, I was just going to read the amendment into the record because I realize it's in the committee packet but not in the council packet.
Great.
So the amendment will read, except as provided under section 473 F1B2, and then all optional method developments. The sentence will continue, but just wanted to get that cite in the record.
Appreciate that. Not seeing any other colleagues in the queue. Before we have a motion to move this, does planning have any other items to bring up for our attention?
No, we don't, but I do want to say we appreciate the hard work of PHP and the council staff on this. This is a very, very important ZTA to create more economic development and complete communities in the Great Seneca Plan, so thank you.
Great, thank you. Since we did amend the committee recommendation, I do need a motion to approve ZTA 24-03.
Move approval.
Okay. I have Councilmember Friedson move, Council Vice President Jawando second. This is a roll call vote, so Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lukey?
Yes.
Councilmember Lukey votes yes. Councilmember Mink?
Yes.
Councilmember Mink votes yes. Councilmember Sales?
Yes.
Councilmember Sales votes yes. Councilmember Friedson?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedson votes yes. Councilmember Glass?
Yes.
Councilmember Glass votes yes. Councilmember Katz?
Yes.
Councilmember Katz votes yes. Councilmember Albornoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Albornoz votes yes. Councilmember Fanning Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Fanning Gonzalez votes yes. Councilmember Balcom?
Yes.
Councilmember Balcom votes yes. Councilmember Jawando.
Yes.
Councilmember Jawando votes yes. Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart votes yes.
Great. Thank you so much for being here and all the work on that. Next, we are continuing our district council session. There are a number of zoning text amendments for introduction today. Item 5B is the introduction of zoning text amendment 25-01, self-storage, civic, and institutional, what we're calling the SAVE ZTA, Street Activation and Vacancy Elimination. The lead sponsor is myself, Council President. Co-sponsors are Council Members Fanny Gonzalez, Friedson, Mink, Council Vice President Jawando, Council Member Sales, and Katz. Public hearings are scheduled on March 11th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. I just want to note that the reason behind this ZTA is that this would occur when a residential conversion or demolition of a largely vacant building is unsuitable. The ZTA would allow above-ground storage while maintaining the ground floor, the street level, as a community-serving activation. Buildings for this would only be eligible when they have no tenants in 90% of the building for at least 2 years, and the ground floor must contain a charitable, philanthropic, or cultural institution with frontage abutting a public sidewalk or other pedestrian route. In some of our downtown areas, because of the challenges, and I think we'll be talking about that more, and I thank the chair of the Economic Committee that has been really diving into this issue, but because of our challenges of office vacancies, we do have some streets that lacked activation on the ground floor, and what we're attempting to do with this CTA is to increase our sidewalk activation benefits, which include things like public safety, economic development, and just overall well-being for our community. And so with that, we're going to introduce zoning text amendment 25-01. Ms. New, did I miss anything? Anything you want to add?
No, that was great. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. All right. So that's in the record.
Madam President.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Council member.
I'd like to be listed as a co-sponsor.
Awesome. And Councilmember Lukey.
Yes, and Madam President, I need to be added as a co-sponsor.
Terrific. Thank you so much. We look forward to discussing that ZTA. All right, moving on. The next zoning text amendment for introduction is zoning text amendment 25-02, workforce housing development standards. Lead sponsors are Council Members Friedson and Fanny Gonzalez. The co-sponsors are Council Member Lukey, myself, Council President Stewart, Council Members Balcom and Sales. Public hearings are scheduled for March 11th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. I'm going to turn it now to Council Member Friedson.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, this is the first legislative measure being introduced today as part of the More Housing Now, New Options for Workers package, an ambitious workforce housing proposal which takes 5 bold steps to increase housing supply, to drive down costs, and to increase pathways to home ownership for hardworking residents of our county. I am very pleased to have worked very closely with co-lead on this effort, Natalie Fanny Gonzalez, and want to express appreciation to the initial co-sponsors, Council President Stewart and Council Members Lukey, Balcom, and Sales for your strong support and collaboration. After unprecedented levels of public outreach on the Planning Board's attainable housing recommendations and many months of receiving feedback from community members and housing experts, we took a step back to consider how we could build consensus to make the most meaningful progress moving forward. Given the magnitude of our housing challenges, the status quo simply isn't an option. So after taking in all of the feedback and consulting with a wide variety of housing experts and community stakeholders, we rolled up our sleeves and forged a consensus on a path forward to make significant progress with a thoughtful and targeted approach. Combating the housing crisis was never exclusively about attainable housing recommendations. It requires a comprehensive approach to address the housing needs of our workforce, to increase housing supply, and to facilitate pathways to home ownership. And we know that the current housing crisis is not only threatening our ability to fulfill our values as a welcoming and inclusive community, but it's having serious economic consequences and contributing to the stagnation of our local and regional economy. There is ample evidence to demonstrate this, including a Maryland Comptroller State of the Economy report and a County OLO 2024 report on outmigration. We know that people are leaving the state due to skyrocketing housing costs, which is hampering our ability to attract the necessary workforce to support our county's businesses, our nonprofits, and our public sector agencies. Home ownership and housing in general is simply out of reach for too many people in our community, especially our teachers, our first responders, our nurses, our firefighters, and our police officers. This package that Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez and I are introducing today includes 3 legislative measures, beginning with this one, Zoning Text Amendment 2502, which creates new opportunities for residential construction along many of our corridors with a 15% workforce housing requirement. Income-restricted units for residents making between 70 and 120% of area median income. To give a sense, for a couple, that's approximately $148,000. So 2 working people making just around $75,000 each. The corridors in this proposal are identified utilizing 5 street classifications and roads that have a master plan right-of-way of over 100 feet and more than 2 existing travel lanes. So 3 or more travel lanes, large roadways, and more than 100 feet of master planned right-of-way. There's an interactive map that is forthcoming. Staff hopes to have that to us sometime later this week, and we'll share that with the public as well as with colleagues as soon as it is available. While workforce housing is already defined in our zoning code at 120% area median income, historically, this just hasn't been our focus. We focused on market rate and we focused on affordable and deeply affordable housing, and it is this middle part of the donut hole that unfortunately has been hollowed out in our community. This is an important step forward and an important change to that effort. And so as part of this broader package, we're also proposing a $4 million workforce housing opportunity fund modeled on successful funds that we have done in other areas previously. And so more on that, to come in the future. But for right now, I'm very pleased to be introducing this zoning measure and the additional aspects of the legislative proposals as part of the More Housing Now New Options for Workers package. And with that, Madam President, I'll turn it back to you to turn it over to our other co-lead sponsor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Friedson. I'll turn it over now to Councilmember Natalie Fanny Gonzalez.
Thank you so much. I am so excited. We're moving forward. It has been a great pleasure to work with Councilmember Friedson on this package, and I want to thank the staff for having so much patience with us. And the only thing that I do want to highlight that this particular ZTA is very intentional. It's about building more housing in key areas of the county, especially near transit. Think about Georgia Avenue, University Boulevard, places where we want to see more growth, places where we can have young families move in, places where you can have firefighters, teachers, people who really want this to move forward. And it was so great to have such a diverse group of people joining us last week as we launched this package. We had CASA, we had teachers, we had nurses. Everybody's so excited because we do need more housing for people who are in the workforce, right? So that's what we're trying to move forward, and I look forward to the public hearing on March 11th. Turn it back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Nadeau, anything else to add on that ZTA?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Terrific. Now that zoning text amendment 25-02 has been introduced. Next is item 5D. This is the introduction of zoning text amendment 25-03, expedited approvals, commercial to residential reconstruction. Lead sponsors, Councilmember Friedson and Fanny Gonzalez. Co-sponsors, Councilmember Lukey, Council President Stewart, Councilmembers Balcom and Sales. Public hearings are scheduled for March 11th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. I'll turn it back to Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you, Madam President. I really appreciate it. Excited to move forward with ZTA 2503. This is part of the effort that we've been working on for quite some time. The Economic Development Committee has been working on the incentive piece on the planning, housing, and park side. I've been focused on the zoning piece. This is the expedited process to make it easier to facilitate the conversion of vacant offices that are 50% or more vacant, to make it easier to make them productive in our communities, to turn them into housing that we desperately need. We know that time is money. We know that these projects are incredibly cumbersome. They're expensive and time consuming. and making the regulatory approval process much easier to allow them to move forward much faster is going to be critical if we want to take them out of unproductive use and move them into productive use to ensure that they're helping us to address our housing crisis and are generating the type of vibrancy and, frankly, the other types of revenue generation that we want and that we need in our community.
Okay, Councilmember Natalie Fanning-Gonzalez.
Very quickly, as you all know, the Economic Development Committee has spent a whole year looking at the office vacancy on the office market in the county. And this is us trying to move forward on making sure that we don't have empty buildings in our community, right? So this is very specific to ensure that we're moving approvals very quickly. And again, we're very intentional. With that, I'm very pleased to move this forward, and I look forward to the public hearing again on March 11.
Terrific. Ms. Nadeau, anything to add on that?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Great. So zoning text amendment 25-03 is introduced. Next, we have item 5E, and that is the introduction of subdivision regulation amendment 25-01, administrative subdivision expedited approval plan. Lead sponsors are Councilmember Friedson and Fanning-Gonzalez. Co-sponsors Councilmember Lukey, Council President Stewart, and Councilmembers Balcom and Sales. Public hearings are scheduled for March 11, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. Councilmember Friedson.
Just very briefly, this is the SRA that makes the ZTA possible and consistent through subdivision, should that be required and needed. No further additional commentary necessary, but it's companion legislation to allow for subdivision to happen in a similar manner.
Terrific. We're good. All right. Ms. Nadeau, anything on that?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Great. So subdivision regulation amendment 25-01 is introduced. Councilmember Friedson?
Yeah, before we close out on these zoning measures, I just want to give a special degree of appreciation to Ms. Nadeau, Ms. Dunn, and the rest of our housing team who have just done yeoman's effort always, but particularly over the last 8 months as we have grappled with many of these really nuanced and complex housing issues and have had to figure out how we move forward with meaningful legislation, have run models, have run through different scenarios, have worked incredibly hard to do that. And I will also acknowledge the collaboration that our council staff has had with planning staff as well, who's worked quite hard as well. And I see Mr. Ali there as well as part of the housing team. Want to call him out. He served both the Economic Development Committee on the conversion piece of this, as well as the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee on the modeling of various housing types and on the workforce housing requirements specifically. And this is a team that has really stepped up at a very challenging dynamic and a very challenging issue and really done incredible work. And I just want to make sure I uplifted that here. So thank you, Madam President, for the indulgence.
Great. Thank you. All right. So now we will move to our legislative day number 3 for the year with an introduction of a bill. This is item 6 on our agenda. It's expedited bill 2-25, taxation payments in lieu of taxes. Affordable housing amendments. Lead sponsors are Council Members Fanning-Gonzalez and Friedson. Co-sponsors are Councilmember Lukey, Council President Stewart, Council Members Balcom and Sales. Public hearings are scheduled for March 11, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. And I will turn it over to one of the leads, Council Member Fanning-Gonzalez.
Thank you so much, Madam President. This goes side by side with that ZTA work that we're putting in place, so moving forward. And this is about creating a 25-year payment in lieu of taxes, a pilot for conversions of high vacancy commercial properties to housing with affordability requirements. These are things that are happening in other parts of the nation, and we had talked about it in the Economic Development Committee. So this is a proposal moving forward on this, and I really want to thank the legal department for helping us on this with this particular item. And I think this is your first time in front of us. Is that right?
It's my second. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Would you like to introduce yourself, or perhaps?
I was going to ask Council President Stewart to introduce me. No, Jim O'Gorzlak, legislative attorney.
Anything else that you would like to add?
Nothing to add, council member.
What a great lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Agorzelek. I appreciate you being here, and I have practiced. I'm not seeing any other comments or questions on this, so expedited bill 2-25 is introduced. All right, now moving on to agenda item number 7A. It is a call of bills for final reading. There are 2 bills for consideration today. The first is action on expedited bill 22-24, taxation collection of development impact taxes. Ms. Nadeau is back with us. We had a government operations and fiscal policy committee a session on this. We did have some amendments to enact on that, and I believe we have another small amendment for the council to consider. But before we get to that, I'd like to turn it over to the lead on this, Councilmember Glass.
Well, thank you very much, Madam President and Madam Chair of the GO Committee. I appreciate the work that you and your colleagues did to put forward this legislation for the full council. If we want to build more housing that is affordable, we need to make it more affordable to build housing. Full stop. And that is essentially what this very straightforward and simple legislation does. Yes, Councilmember Katz. Very simple, very straightforward, and it reduces the cost to build housing. The way it does that is changing the times at which impact taxes are collected. When we charge impact taxes at the beginning of a process, those taxes are encumbered in the financing cost and interest is charged. By changing the time at which impact taxes are collected, we'll be able to reduce the costs of new housing by collectively millions of dollars, and that cost savings will be shared by renters and home buyers. And during the public hearing, we actually heard testimony from the development industry that said this change will also encourage new development to occur. One thing that's really important to note, this proposal is revenue neutral. The same impact taxes will be paid, and we can have a conversation here and I know we will have one in the future, about impact taxes and their efficacy in the work that they are put towards. But I do look forward to the creation of the infrastructure funding work group that the GO committee is putting together so that we can have that conversation at a later time. But we do need to have as many tools in the toolbox so that we can have creative options to make it more affordable to live here. And this legislation takes us in that direction. And I just want to take a moment to thank members of my team, Hope Klein and Joy Champalou, who did a lot of research on this. And in that research, they also found that former council member Hans Riemer first worked on this in 2011. And so I want to thank former council member Riemer and say 14 years later, we're getting it done. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. I do want to say that the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee did recommend the approval with amendments, including clarification on how municipalities will process a deferral when the final inspection can be scheduled. I think there's one more that I'm going to turn over to Ms. Nadeau that she wanted to walk through. So.
Yes, so on page 6 of the staff report, there is amendment to clarify the order of when the payment is made and final inspection. There is a concern that the way it reads, an applicant could argue it's due at inspection, but in practice, DPS actually waits until they've received payment before they would even schedule it. But then, after work session, there's a request for further clarification on sort of who is scheduling what when. So the proposed amendment here is, if you look at that second box, where it says transportation mitigation payment, school facilities payment due until the, council staff recommends inserting the words until the applicant schedules the final inspection of the building by the Department of Permitting Services. And then the committee amendment would then follow with final inspection will not be scheduled until payment is received, just so it's a little clearer who is doing what.
Great. Any?
I'll move that amendment.
Councilmember Glass.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Not seeing any questions or anything. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. Anything else, Ms. Nadeau?
No, I believe with no other changes to the other amendments that the committee had recommended.
Great, since we have an amendment to the committee recommendation, if someone like to move this bill?
So moved.
Councilmember Glass moved, Councilmember Sales seconded. Not seeing any other questions or anything? All right, this is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lukey.
Yes.
Councilmember Lukey votes yes. Councilmember Mink.
Yes.
Councilmember Mink votes yes. Councilmember Sales.
Yes.
Councilmember Sales votes yes. Councilmember Friedson.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedson votes yes. Councilmember Glass.
Yes.
Councilmember Glass votes yes. Councilmember Katz.
Yes.
Councilmember Katz votes yes. Councilmember Albanos.
Yes.
Councilmember Albanos votes yes. Councilmember Funding Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember Funding Gonzalez votes yes. Councilmember Balcom.
Yes.
Councilmember Balcom votes yes. Councilmember Jawando.
Yes.
Councilmember Jawando votes yes. Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart votes yes.
All right. This now takes us to our final agenda item today, which is item 7B, action on expedited bill 26-24, police U visa law enforcement certification, also known as the Uplifting Victims and Immigration Safety Act. The Public Safety Committee recommends approval with amendments. Chair Katz, would you like to share the committee's recommendations?
I would. Thank you, Madam President. I first off want to thank the lead sponsors, which are Councilmembers Glass and Fanny Gonzalez and Lukey on this measure, as well as the co-sponsors, Councilmember Albanaz, Council President Stewart, myself, Councilmember Balcom, Councilmember Friedson, and Councilmember Sales. And we also want to make a special note to thank Ms. McCartney Green for all of her hard work in leading us through this. This was a Public Safety Committee vote, and it was a 3-0. We had one amendment, and it clarifies that the policy must also be consistent and not conflict with state law. The bill requires U visa, which you've already stated, it's the Uplifting Victims and Immigrant Safety Act, be consistent with and not more restrictive than any allowed by federal law. And the purpose of this bill is to protect immigrant victims of violent crimes and those who assist law enforcement with investigations by granting legal immigration status and removing a 10-year limit on when the crime occurred. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you. Ms. McCartney Green, do you have anything else to add?
No, Chair Katz did a good job.
Great. So I have Councilmember Sales in the queue.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Ms. McCartney Green. I had a quick question. Given the changes in our administration, are there any concerns with providing them with information about our undocumented residents? So I can't speak on behalf of the USCIS or federal, but what I can say is that there's already current guidance or a resource guide that's provided to localities, and this bill would make sure that we are consistent with those policies. Okay. Okay. Does that answer your question, Councilor? It does. It's just that, you know, we're proactively providing the administration with very detailed information about undocumented residents. And so I'm just wondering if there's any concern about them misusing that information to target these residents. Yeah, so it's hard for me to speak on that, but I do know that the U visa certification process, the certificate of helpfulness process, is one part of the application, and so it's not an indication that it's the entire application process. But what we're doing here is really just focus on that and making sure that the policy is consistent. After applicant has submitted that, that's outside of our jurisdiction and how that's controlled. Okay, and then. With regards to the RASJ impact statement, how will the staff be trained on the U visa application process, purpose, statutory requirements? Yeah, so during the committee work session, we did have members from MCPD that were attended and discussed in length of some of their policies that they're already doing now. From my understanding, they've already made adjustments to some of the policies, and in practice have been a specific division that's trained and equipped to handle that. And so I would highly recommend also, looking at that work session where they provided testimony to the committee in terms of having sufficient staff to be able to review this and reviewing and revising their policy to make sure that they are in line with both state and federal law.
All right, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Lass.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the questions by Councilmember Sales. And before I provide my remarks on the bill, Ms. McCartney-Green, just to clarify those questions, as part of the U visa process, it is a requirement to work with local law enforcement. Isn't that correct?
It is a requirement to do that, yes.
Thank you. And so thank you for your work on this bill. Thank you, President Stewart, and my co-leads, Fani Gonzalez and Councilmember Luedtke. Also want to thank all of the co-sponsors and the Public Safety Committee as well for your thoughtful deliberation and approval. We're having this conversation today because residents of Montgomery County are frightened. I know we've all been hearing from parents who are scared about going to work, from kids who are scared that their parents might be deported. And there's a lot of fear within our immigrant community, and it's made only worse by misinformation. And now more than ever, we need improved communication with our public safety officials. And we need police officers to do their job, which are to keep the residents of Montgomery County safe and protected. No one should be afraid to ask for help when they need it or to seek justice when they've been wronged. And when an individual seeks a U visa, it's because they have suffered substantial mental or physical abuse as victims of certain crimes, and they've assisted or are willing to assist law enforcement in the investigation and prosecution of those crimes. The U Visa Act will help protect victims of heinous crimes like domestic violence, rape, and trafficking, and it will help those who are the most reluctant to come forward because of their immigration status. Everybody should receive help. The trauma that these violent crimes means is that it can take years for someone to report what has happened, and arbitrary deadlines like the 10-year statute of limitation that currently exists silences those who are still finding the courage to seek justice and help. I want to thank MCPD for their quick work to proactively remove the 10-year deadline from the U visa policy as a result of this legislation being introduced. And through the process, we learned from Assistant Chief Augustine at the public hearing that it's actually making a difference in people's lives. In 2024, 142 people reached out to MCPD seeking their help obtaining a U visa. Since this bill was introduced and MCPD changed its policy, 4 people who would have not otherwise qualified have been helped. And we want to make sure that more people come out of the shadows and receive the help that they need, because we will always be a place for refuge. We do not build walls around Montgomery County. We open our arms and embrace our immigrant neighbors because this is who we are. And despite attempts to demonize and scapegoat immigrants, we know that immigrants are far more likely to be victims of crime than perpetrators of it, and they deserve justice too. And so in this political climate, we need to make sure that we shine our hope, our love, and our optimism. And by passing this bill, we share our openness and willingness to support all of our residents. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilmember Luedtke.
Thank you, Madam President, and certainly I echo everything that Councilmember Glass just said. I know we often joke about the millions watching at home, but I do want to clarify some things. This process and the introduction of this bill, as Councilmember Glass noted, led to the quick removal of the internal policy where there was a 10-year statute of limitations, if you will, put in place. But I want to go back to why that occurred in the first place. The U visa program as a federal program has been around for 25 years. And so when it started, there weren't always electronic records available, and you could only dig back to find what you could find to support such things. And this is one of those things where it just never got addressed over time as technology changed and things changed, and we could be doing things to facilitate helping more people. This allows more people to be helped who are willing to assist law enforcement with prosecuting those
who have victimized them. And so it's a wonderful positive step in that direction. We want to do whatever we can to help build trust between our immigrant community and our public safety partners who can help them, and we do not want them to be further victimized. While we all candidly admitted at the Public Safety Committee hearing that we don't know what lies ahead in terms of USCIS and its policies, it's our obligation to do what we can locally to do the best we can for those who live in Montgomery County. Thank you all.
Right. Councilmember Natalie Fanning-Gonzalez.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I just want to say thank you to Councilmember Glass and Councilmember Luque for letting me join you on this effort. Just want to emphasize that the U-Visa certification process really emphasizes the need of having strong connections between our immigrant community and the police. That's really, really important now more than ever. When people are feeling desperate and living in fear. I was just talking to Spanish-speaking media outlets earlier this morning about absenteeism in our schools from immigrant kids who are afraid of going to school. Yesterday was a national day, a day without an immigrant day. And it was very impactful nationwide, and it took part here in Montgomery County. Thousands of kids did not go to school yesterday. And I know because I have kids in the Montgomery County public school systems, and the school was half empty. Again, today, lots of kids are missing school. So I'm going to take this opportunity and remind and tell parents that please don't, you live in Montgomery County. We're one of the most amazing places in the United States. We're a welcoming community. Please don't be afraid of sending your kids to school. Please don't be afraid of speaking up when you see a crime being committed. This U-Visa is a way for you to get status here, at the same time working with our police department to ensure that our communities are safe for everybody, regardless of where they were born or what language do you speak, right? With that, I thank you for everybody who's co-sponsored this bill, and I look forward to its successful passage.
Thank you, Councilmember Fanning-Gonzalez, and also just a reminder of the excellent resources that MCPS has available for families, particularly immigrant families. So before you think of keeping your children home, please just check that out and contact the schools and talk to them. Councilmember Glass, I have your light on again. You want to speak again? Okay.
That is correct, because I'd be remiss if I did not thank my excellent team, led by my Chief of Staff, Valeria Carranza, who did this work on Capitol Hill and is making sure that we protect everyone nationally and locally, and also Hannah Wolkove. So thank you.
Great. All right. Excellent. Not seeing any other comments or anything, and we did not have any other new amendments for this, so we have a recommendation from the committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Luque seconds. This is a roll call vote, so Madam Clerk, you call the vote.
Councilmember Luque?
Yes.
Councilmember Luque votes yes. Councilmember Mink?
Yes.
Councilmember Mink votes yes. Councilmember Sales?
Yes.
Councilmember Sales votes yes. Councilmember Friesen?
Yes.
Councilmember Friesen votes yes. Councilmember Glass?
Yes.
Councilmember Glass votes yes. Councilmember Katz?
Yes.
Councilmember Katz votes yes. Councilmember Albanose?
Yes.
Councilmember Albanose votes yes. Councilmember Fanning-Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Fanning-Gonzalez votes yes. Councilmember Balcom?
Yes.
Councilmember Balcom votes yes. Councilmember Jawando?
Yes.
Councilmember Jawando votes yes. Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart votes yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. McCartney Green. And there is nothing left on our agenda today, so our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.